We're starting off this afternoon with a panel discussion on how ESG is reshaping the tourism industry. Let me call upon the panel. Mr. Malik Mohamed. Mr. Malik stands as a seasoned and accomplished finance professional, having carved a remarkable path in the hospitality industry for over the span of 15 years. With a distinguished background as the Cluster Director of Finance at Marriott International Inc., Mr. Malik is a devoted member of CMAF and CGMA. He is dedicated to shape the future of both finance and data science, leaving an incredible mark on the industries he holds dear. Mr. Mohamed Shafraz Hafiz. Mr. Shafraz is the Director of Digital Technology and Marketing, delivering the end-to-end integration of digital technology solutions into hotel workflows while launching digital campaigns to drive engagement for hotels and resorts. Mr. Shafraz collaborates to understand tourism priorities while taking ownership in delivering consistency within brand strategies across all deliverable touchpoints and continuously improves ways of working to align with campaign objectives. Ms. Ayesha Nurain Janah. Ms. Nurain is the Group Vice Chair at Hotels and Resorts Investments Maldives. Ms. Nurain is a Chartered Accountant with the Chartered Accountants Australia New Zealand, a fellow member of CM Maldives, and a certified member of the Institute of Finance Professionals New Zealand. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Economic Geography and a Master's in Accounting. Ms. Nurain founded the award-winning charity Authenticity Aotearoa, Rehati Consulting, and recently launched Kandufa Foundation. This session will be moderated by Ms. Samahath Abdulla. Ms. Samahath is the Deputy Director of Large Taxpayer and International Tax Audit at Maldives Inland Revenue Authority. She has over 8 years of experience in the field of taxation. Ms. Samahath is a member of ACCA, a fellow member of CM Maldives, and a member of the Valuation Committee of CM Maldives. I kindly invite the panelists on stage.
Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon to you all. Welcome to our panel discussion on a topic that is both timely and transformative. Our goal today is to delve into how environmental, social, and governance practices are reshaping the tourism industry and to discuss the significant role AI plays in this transformation. To provide comprehensive coverage of this broad topic, we have divided the main aspects among our esteemed panel members based on their expertise. Ms. Nurain will focus on how ESG could be a competitive advantage in the Maldivian tourism industry. Mr. Shafraz will discuss digital transformation and technology integration in the tourism industry. Mr. Malik, our business intelligence expert, will provide detailed insights into leveraging AI and data analytics in tourism industry. We aim to have an interactive session with our audience. Please keep your questions ready as we proceed. We will open the floor for questions from the audience as time allows. Given the extensiveness of the topic, I will now invite our panel members to give their opening remarks on their respective subject areas. Ms. Nurain.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Nurain Janah, and if you'll allow me, I'll say a few words in Diwali for all our Maldivians and the audience first. Pajaveri Haviran, I guess. We have a friend around Kudaitsa Tanavadana. Diwali Bahaki Vara Musandi Bahan. Diwali Bahuke Terega. ruka behegatun harvesta varagina ema tibefrong eka panaka icebreaker egagatun alanege and edemeko vendor kelma again tapare lidiasa ekal tanta tabefa hornadaka hema tibefrong eka panaka and admit me korani divehi ahuke terega ruka behegatun harvahek kita gini kong harba itu, eka paneka and the audience and aim me harba hello but struggle one and then so I'll switch over to English with your permission now. So what I've invited all of the Moldavian in the audience is to think about in the Moldavian Diveni language. It has a lot of analogies and a lot of proverbs about the coconut palm. So as a bit of an icebreaker and an energizer, I'm just inviting all of you Moldavians to think about which proverb comes to mind about the coconut palm. And I do promise you this does relate to the topic. So I'm not kind of taking us off topic. So I'll give you 30 seconds to come up. You can shout it out if you like as well. I know there are some young ones in the audience, so you can shout it out. So, anyone? Yeah.
Rukang ngerimi hagen adurai misal bahe.
Rukang ngerimi hagen adu. Okay, let me translate that for those that don't speak Duri. It is. Oh no. I've done this to myself. The intention or something that they are promising themselves that they will do. So the proverb that the gentleman has just shared is that the person the intention of the person who's climbed the tree, and the deeper meaning behind it. There's one more here. Yes. Yeah. So, means that you have to step the kind of deeper meaning, and if I'm translating this correctly, you have to go through all of the stages. So it refers to the life cycle of a coconut. So you have to go through all of the stages to really mature and have understanding. And then the esteemed president has just shared that whoever is loudest has the most coconut trees. So you may disagree. So there were not very many loud people in the audience. So you've got an insight into what your esteemed president thinks. So be louder, please. So I wanted to start with a grounding in our culture, in our language, which has a real rich history, but it also is really tied to nature. So when we talk about ESG, we talk a lot about the environment first, and then social and governance, and all of these things are interlinked to the context and the culture that we all have. Right now we are here in the Maldives, so whatever context that you all come from, it's really interlinked and it cannot be separated. So that's something that I'd like you to remember as we go into defining and being accountants about this and reporting and measuring, that there is a broader context to ESG, right? So what I wanted to share with you around ESG, and I'll pass on to my esteemed panelists for their remarks, is that ESG is a real imperative now. There's no getting away from it. But as accountants do, what we have done is we've gone and called it, shortened it and created acronyms, and we've decided to report on it. And there's a lot of regulatory reform around the world in different ways. There's voluntary and mandatory reporting coming, as the president of Maldives has shared earlier as well, that we have deferred mandatory reporting for the next year because we are preparing for that kind of really hard skills around ESG. But what is required when we're thinking about an industry like tourism, which is really dynamic? It is currently the lifeblood of our economy, as Minister Saeed shared with us this morning. So when we think about that, it actually means that all of us professionals here who do think, I don't know if it's left brain or right brain, but whichever brain that makes you think, in that really hard skill set, that makes you think in that really reporting side of things that, talks about disclosures, talks about reporting, talks about measurement. cannot be removed from making sure the whole community comes with you. What does it mean to have our environment that's linked to climate change? What does it mean to have our community that is sustained by the environment, the One Island, One Resort concept or local tourism? What does it mean to actually sustain ESG and sustain our environment, our social fabric, our social culture environment, and also our ways of governing? I've seen a few debates over the years where we've gone for local government decentralisation and the kind of historical governance models that we've had as well. So as an opening, I guess I would say that as we define these acronyms and kind of these ways of reporting, it's really important to be grounded in the context, grounded in the history, and also grounded in the real environment that we are living in. So I'll shorten my remarks there. I'm sure I can delve into quite a few different things today. So please be, I'll use the team president's words, be the loud person so that you have more coconut trees as we go into this panel. Thank you. Thank you, Nurain.
Before I say anything on the subject, I just want to get one thing clear. If you feel that I'm nervous, that's because I am. I've never been in a room full of so many accountants. Actually, it's not even a room, it's a hall full of accountants. So, I just want to put it out there. As an introduction, I just want to just highlight a little bit on the historical context of technology has been integrated into the hospitality industry with a little bit of insight into AI. If we say AI in the hotel industry, especially in the Maldives as well, as early adapters, we have been using AI in the hotel industry for the past seven years in our normal everyday data analytics tools for marketing, for PMS, our revenue management systems, our CRMs. We have been using data analytics AI with their own custom-built algorithms within the systems. So now I ask, what has changed? Why all of a sudden AI is now a keyword? There's two parts to it. One is AI has become more mainstream, it's more applicable now to everybody, even every consumer. Simple example is ChatGPT. So AI has been introduced more to a normal audience. And the second part, which is the most important underlying part, is the advancement of the language learning models. For example, the Google LLM has over 480 billion parameters it looks into. It's 480 billion. I can't even think of few hundred parameters if I want to look into something. So this advancement of the language learning models had helped us enhance the products that we already have. So what has happened is the products that we have been using, which has a very low-end LLM that they have custom built, is integrated into these advanced LLMs, and the results are amazing, and the ability for us to do so many things has been groundbreaking for us. So in a historical sense, that is how AI has been integrated into the hotel industry. And another point I wanted to note out is that before we go into that, I just wanted to highlight the areas where AI actually is focused in our hospitality industry. I will not go into detail because I think through the conversations we are going to have in this panel, we will pretty much cover all the aspects of it. So as you can see, what AI has done is, apologies for my spellings, enhance customer experience, personalized marketing, operational efficiency, predictive analytics, dynamic pricing strategy, sentiment analysis, and smart applications. So, one more thing I want to highlight is today we are in a very disruptive stage of in the hotel industry. The only time before that in my work in hotel technology and marketing is when this change occurred where the legacy systems that we were being using converted to cloud-based systems, which was groundbreaking, and it helped scale products easier. Products became more accessible, more cost-effective, and on top of all, it became the data became more available to everybody. So after that, right now we are in a stage where we are seeing a disruption again to the development of these language learning models in AI. It's an interesting time for us because every day is a learning day for us. And I think even though I speak regarding the hospitality industry, this is applicable to pretty much all the professions right now. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So let me start also with a coconut joke. I mean, what does it mean when somebody says you have a coconut brain? So accountants do not have a coconut brain, right? Because they talk in numbers. Shafraz, so next time, you have to put a lot of numbers. Since this is your first time talking.
I was talking about this panel that somebody told me never give quantifiable stuff during your panel, talk qualitative.
Okay, yeah, that's also a good strategy. Okay, so basically we are talking about tourism, right? So, and you are all accountants, people, who operate with numbers. So let me bring your focus into the numbers in the tourism industry, in hotels, in resorts, right? So when two hoteliers they meet, what is the first thing they ask? How is your occupancy, right? So what does that mean? What is your occupancy? So that means how's your business doing? And then you talk about ADR, average daily rate, right? And RevPAR. And RevPAR is basically the most important metric that is used in hotels and resorts, all the lodging industry, to measure against your competitors. So if you are at a hotel or resort, if your RevPAR, and if you are in a comp set, and if your RevPAR is less than your competitors, that means you are in trouble, right? So the owners will say, okay, what is going on? Why are you not able to maintain your business same level as the competitors, right? So these are the numbers that people talk about when we look at a resort operation, right? And so you can see that some of the graphs that is there. I think you see this in the news every day. The tourism ministry choose what are the arrival numbers, and like this is how you're comparing against last year, and how the business doing. And then one thing you will notice is over the past few years we have a different. I mean, like we had one resort, one island, one resort concept. So basically focusing on luxury tourism, right? But now we have guest houses and homestays. So which is kind of a diversification of the basically the industry. So this is something that is making some interesting changes overall our marketing, and some things that we need as accountants we need to think about. What is it having as an impact to the industry? And when we talk about broader industry items, like we can look at, for example, tourism is basically the main industry we have, right? All the foreign exchange is coming from there. And whenever people think about debt and stuff, or when the government needs some funding, what is it they think? Okay, we increase the TGST, right? So that's what they did in last year, I mean in January 2023, right? So they increased. I think it was given like 2 months notice and increased the TGST from 12 to 16%. So these are some of the things actually I think the accountants need to focus on, to really do research and what are the implications of these sudden changes to the industry and overall contribution to the economy as well. So I mean, for example, when you increase the TGST, is it bringing the additional tax revenue to the government or not? Or is it actually harming the industry? So these are some things actually we need to think about. Okay, can we move to the other slide? So basically, so I think we are, as Pulse Hotels, we are one of the first to have a business intelligence unit in our organization. So we have, I'm actually heading that department, Shafraz, and I basically working on that. So basically, with AI, with data analytics, things are changing very fast, right? And basically, we have, I think, recently I saw an article that EU has introduced some law, right? In terms of, what are some of the parameters in terms of data security and stuff. The other thing is, now when we operate any business, what is the first thing we want? We want to know what are the future cash flows, right? And to be able to predict the future. So we want to know what is going to happen in the next 3 months, next 6 months, next 1 year. So that is very, very important. But how do we drive? How do we know? When you do a cash flow forecast or when you do a financial projection, what is it you look at? Sometimes we just look at historical numbers and do extrapolation, right? So, but with data analytics, you are able to put in a lot of different parameters and things that are not humanly possible, right? Because of the amount of independent variables that you consider, and then to be able to predict with certain confidence level. So you need to use AI and computers, right? So I think this overall we will need. I think all the accountants will require to become data analysts and to basically dive into data analytics and data science. I think that will be very, very helpful for the future. Because accounts payable, account receivable, in accounting departments, I think very soon will no longer exist, right? Because you have this optical character recognition, so you can actually send an invoice through an email. The system will look at the invoice. Even if it is PDF scan, still it can read what is in there. So it will know the purchase order number. It can actually, and this is not something new. As Shafraz has mentioned, this is already there. And most of the international chains, they already use this for invoice postings. There is no accounts payable entering invoices anymore in quite a few companies. So these are some of the changes. But the accountants, being basically not having that coconut brain, right? So we will be playing an important role, actually driving the performance of various businesses, including resort operation. Thank you.
Thank you, members, for your areas highlighted regarding the subject areas. I'll now proceed with questions for the members. My first question is for Ms. Nurain. How are ESG principles reshaping the tourism industry, and why are they a strategic advantage rather than just a compliance requirement?
So I'm a bit of a storyteller, as I'm told by my siblings. So I'll keep on the storytelling, but I'll link it back to data to try and keep it more interesting for you. So we've talked about ESG being really rooted in the context. We've talked about how it comes through our language or wherever we are, the cultural context as well. So when we talk about ESG principles within the tourism industry especially, there's lots of frameworks around, and globally there's lots of different frameworks. The S1, S2 framework is one, the CFD that Europe has introduced as another, the TCFD frameworks as well. So there's lots of different frameworks for reporting that are coming in. I did my master's back in 2016, I think it was, on the Global Reporting Initiative and what ESG was coming in for listed companies in Asia Pacific back then. So we've been talking about some form of ESG reporting in this millennium, and we've been talking about environmental and sustainability, especially in the tourism industry, since the 1990s or even earlier. So this is not a new conversation. What we need to add to the conversation is this kind of, I'll bring in a coconut analogy again, people say which kind of refers to someone who is multi-skilled. So as accountants, as professionals, we have to kind of bring in multiple skills so that all of these principles intersect and we're able to give advice and add value in a way that they all intersect. So in terms of the tourism industry and how we can add value, each of the principles within the UN Tourism Framework that is currently being developed, there is a measurement framework for sustainable tourism that is being developed with case studies across South America and across Asia as well. There's a conversation, I think a pertinent conversation that has been going on around urban tourism and the trends around, as some of my panelists have also mentioned. Things are changing really fast, and the tourism industry has changed really fast. The globe has contracted, people are able to travel much faster, much cheaper, but also are we as an industry, as a destination, and also as a geography adapting to that. I wear many different hats on the ESG side. I consult C-suites and multinational companies on how, when we implement ESG strategies, whether we're taking into account a long-term horizon. It's not mitigating risk. It's not just about mitigating risk. It's not just about regulatory compliance, but it's about a 50 to 100-year horizon where are we leaving a legacy? We were having a chat just before the panel about the alpha generation as well. Are we leaving a legacy for them to be proud of and to carry on? So that's the type of frame of mind that we need to take in as we talk about principles. And the reason why it will give us a competitive advantage is not just the obvious one. I went snorkeling recently and I could see, we had a coral bleaching event in the country in June this year, and it's regenerating again. But it's regenerating because, as a construction industry, as a tourism industry, we were on the same page with the regulatory body that will stop works that impact the reef. And of course, it will keep happening as climate change is a global matter, but it is about bringing all the stakeholders together to make sure that we are really brave. Sometimes it takes losses because, even in our industry, when in terms of construction, the delays are costs. But we're thinking not in terms of a 2-month delay as a cost in 2024. We're thinking about, maybe 50 years down the line, are we actually protecting the corals that are around? So there's lots of different case studies of operational resorts, but also resorts that are coming up and developing that do prioritize the long-term view rather than the short-term view. And this is why it's really important, the framework that the UN Tourism is developing, because at the moment we can quantify in terms of profit and cost what the delay is going to cost us now, but we are, there are some tools available, but it's still really difficult to quantify the impact on the bottom line. If you are to say, we're really sustaining this reef or this environment and geography into the long term. I'll mention the social like social cultural, especially elements in tourism, which I feel like we talk a lot about the environmental and we talk a lot about good governance because it's about risk and regulatory compliance. It's about having good structures, good decision making, but then we kind of like skip over the S of the ESG, and especially when we're talking about investments, it's something that we say, oh, we're good to our people, we're good to the communities, and we do some CSR, and then we forget about it. But we have to remember that the E and the G don't work if we don't do the S. So the S is about workforce skills development, as we've talked about, making sure that it's really being integrated and into people's mindsets, into communities, because as we diversify the tourism industry, but also as we sustain what exists, we need to make sure that the skill sets are there, the mindsets, the hearts and minds are there with us, and we're all collaborating on the same effort ahead. I can tell a bit deeper, but I'll do it in conversation with our other panelists. Thank you.
My next question is for Shafraz. What are the emerging trends and which AI functionality is currently most important and used in the industry?
If you look into the current trends in, especially in the hospitality industry, I would put it into two areas. One is enhancing the guest experience, and the second part would be the operational efficiency. And I think Malik would be the best person to talk about the operational efficiency part, because on demand forecasting, revenue management side, but on the guest experience side, I'm more familiar with, so I'll just give some details on this. There are two parts to it. The first part is personalization. So for this output, let's put a data model on this. Let's imagine this is a repeated guest who is coming to our hotel. Maybe this is their third time. How much data do we have on this guest? What kind of a transport she prefers? Which kind of a room she had preferred? What kind of a pillow she prefers? Which restaurant she goes? What food she eats? What sports activities she does? Does she go to the spa? What treatment she gets? What time of the day she prefers to go to the spa? So these are all, there's so much data points on the specific guest that is available right now. So let's keep this data set on, and let's look at another data set of the same guest from a customer acquisition point of view. So how do we attribute this booking to her? Did she see one of search ads on Google? Did she see a celebrity here in our resort? She clicked an article and she saw about our resort and came. The whole customer journey can be mapped. When she came to the website, what pages she looked at, what links she clicked. So there's so much. So these two data sets, if we merge them and try to understand the guest, how much customization we can bring by the time this guest arrives for the third time in this, how much intelligent would the teams be to cater to this guest? So that's the kind of customized experiences that we are able to provide. Take this one up further. For example, this guest is maybe a guest from Germany. If this data can be replicated for the guests who have come from Germany for the previous 8 years, would we see a pattern of preferences? Would this differ from a guest from another source market? This is the intelligence we're talking about, and this information right now through AI is readily available for us. So in the hotel industry, we are very excited because we can make very informed decisions right now and informed, like emotionless decisions, because it's all based on numbers. So that's personalization. And the second part that would be the current trend would be AI chatbots, or let's say we call virtual assistants. I'll bring a case study to you from one of our hotels so that it might be easier to understand. So during the peak season, with the number of queries that were coming into the hotel, our reservations team couldn't handle the amount of queries that were coming to the hotel in a timely manner, and we were losing leads. So the question came to us, how can we make this better? Then we took the logs of 5 years from the chats and the queries that are coming in, and we found out that 80% of the queries that were coming in were regarding the same thing. Then the question was, how can we tackle this? Because for us, we use technology to solve a problem. So then we made a decision to invest in an AI chatbot. We fed the data, and within 4 months of implementing this, 90% of our queries are being answered by the bot itself. And only 5% of the guests actually request human intervention for any queries. So this saved a lot of time. For us, another point is, previously when a quotation is normal, a guest will come and say, what's the price of the room? Then there's a whole conversation about when do you want to come, which room types, all these. Right now, 100% of the queries on the website, the bot itself can provide the quotation for the guest, get the payment, and complete this booking without any human intervention in between. Think of it this way. Imagine the amount of time, resources in the reservation team we are saving for these automated tasks, where their time can be used for something that is better. And one important thing, within the first month of investing in this, we got enough bookings for the next, recovered the cost for the next 10 years. So Malik is happy. So this is I'm just putting into simple examples of the things that are coming in, and the thing is, it continuously evolves. The chatbots, everything, with all the changes that are coming in, the language learning models, they get more efficient as we move along, and it learns on its own what the guest is asking about. So I think that would be my answer to the question.
As Shafraz has mentioned, we are talking about a lot of data here, and also mostly you have highlighted the benefits and cost efficiency matters with regard to those aspects. But there is other side too. So Shafraz has mostly mentioned about the benefits. So while I'd like to give Malik the question of the effective strategies for protecting sensitive information in the hospitality industry. What are the challenges, and also how can we implement those factors?
Right. Before that, Shafraz mentioned that he takes care of the operation and sales and marketing side of things, right? So for accountants, So it's very important what happens in the accounting department, right? So I think I'll a little bit talk about that, predictive analysis and things like this. So first, let's talk about the accountants. What do we do usually? Every month we issue a P&L, balance sheet, your financial reports, right? And actually, if you're working already, how many people actually look at your reports? We have a lot of auditors, audit firms as well. How many people actually look at your audit reports and use that to make decisions, right? So I think using the coconut analogy. So basically, you can have a nice drink when the coconut is young, right? So it's very, very important that our reports that comes are fresh, right? And it has not outdated. So you can see that I think in the maybe 10 years ago, your PMLs month-end reports usually come by the 20th of the month, right? But now in most places I see that it will come on the 2nd of the following month. And also there is a lot of daily reports, right? So the management information has evolved and using a lot of technology to get your most important information very, very fast. And that's important, right? You want to have your coconut young, right? Not old. Okay, so the other thing that, in terms of, how AI and technology making a difference in our decision making. Let's take an example of revenue management situation. In all the hotels there is a revenue management department. So let's say there is a request. The hotels, they have finite number of rooms, right? So let's say what is your hotel room count? They will say 75, 50, 200, like this, right? And then there is seasons. You have festive season. You have peak periods. When it's winter in Europe, right? All the guests from Europe, they come here. And that's our peak period because there's so much demand, we are able to charge a premium, right? Let's say, like CA Maldives wanted to book a hotel which has 70 rooms. They say, okay, I need 50 rooms. I need 50 rooms and I'll pay $50,000. So the revenue manager looks at, okay, I have a nice request, nice piece of business, 70 rooms, let's say this is in October, right? And then the revenue manager will say, okay, this is a good piece of business. But this is on let's say on the 15th of October. And this is a peak period for the hotel. Is it a good business or good decision for the revenue manager to take that business? Or he need to do more analysis. What is the demand for this period? Am I going to get more revenue by choosing my normal business, like the FIT guest? What happens on the 15th? So when your hotel, when you sell these 50 rooms at $50,000, so you have a block, right? Means anybody who wants to stay through the 15th of October, you couldn't book the hotel, right? And the guests from, let's say, Europe, they stay here for 14 days, right? So every guest who wants to stay through 15, they couldn't book the hotel because it is blocked, right? So now with AI and technologies, we are able to see multiple. We are able to see, okay, what is the capacity, what is the availability of airlines into. This is a very important component, right? When you have demand, you need to know whether the guest who wants to book a hotel are able to travel. So all this actually can be taken care of by a revenue management system which has AI capabilities to look at various different things. And then, like instead of 50,000, the hotel could have made $500,000 by just not taking the CA mortgage request, right? So, that is what AI is doing, right? So you're able to do a lot of things. Yes, I think in terms of Europe usually is the first in terms of coming up with the laws and stuff, right? For technologies, AI, I think there is a law now. What can be done and what cannot be done in terms of because AI is such a tool that you can use it for bad things, right? So what you want to do is basically to make sure that you are not personal. You're protecting the individual rights, but at the same time, benefiting the organizations, right? So if you are using it for purposes that's going to harm the people, right, and harm the communities, jobs and stuff. Jobs it will, but there is some basically a way that can be done that is more beneficial to the society, right? So all this actually, I think it's going to be regularized, and so it's going to make a difference. But AI is, we need, there's so much potential there, right? So we need to really take advantage of that.
Since we are running out of time, I would like to open the floor for questions from the audience. So, is there any questions that you would like to ask our members?
Thank you, all the panelists. This has been very enlightening. I was also thinking about AI as a tool, just like a hammer is the tool to drive a nail in, but not to crack an egg, perhaps. But I was also thinking whether AI is now utilized not just on the guest side, but on the S side of operating a hotel. The social impacts. If you're monitoring or if you're using that to see the preferences of your employees, of the trades that they're taking out, and which people from which area best suit for which areas in the operation side, and the patterns of leave people take, and how whether that's being applied and utilized.
That's a very interesting question. In tourism, basically the human capital, right? Basically, this is the one of the most important, right? Because the interaction that we have with the Maldivian hospitality from our people, that is actually, I would say, half of the reason why people come back to Maldives, right? So these butlers, and they're doing amazing jobs in terms of making that connection with the guest, right? So I think the question, if I not misunderstood, is basically how do AI make more engagement for the employees, and how does AI help with the employees' situations, right? So now there are actually, one thing that I was looking at the other day, we are looking at incentive program, right? How do we actually drive behavioral change in our team members that will benefit the organization, right? So we say, you have to give, financial incentives. But research shows that, let's say you make an increment of $500 to an employee, they will remember it for 3 weeks and forward, right? So the basically the behavioral change that you wanted to bring is gone after 3 weeks because, okay, this is part of my income now, right? So there is now certain tools that are available to basically have an incentive and recognition program that is constant. Like when you get a good feedback from the guest, there is a point system, sort of like you get points to your bank, so that employees bank, and also supervisors. So basically, let's say there is good feedback from a guest, so then you get 100 points, right? And these points can be redeemed, with cash or with stay at a resort, bring your family, have a dinner at one of the restaurants, And the important thing is they will see, each one will have an app, and it will show, okay, how much, these points that they are getting. And what it does to the employee is that they see that, okay, if I do something good, I'm going to get points. Like money, right? I mean, it's sort of money, right? Because you can use it later. But what it does is it's constantly reminding them of doing good things, right? So it's a behavioral thing that we are trying to do. But this is only possible with AI, and because you want to see if there is a good comment on your website, it should automatically be picked up, right, by the program, right? Because if a guest posts a good remark on one of the employees and then you don't recognize, then also defeats the purpose, right? But one thing for sure is that AI will not fail if you have programmed it properly, right? So I think it does.
So, it's a small case study. It was an interesting project that I was part of in New Zealand, but I was one of the 3 co-founders, and I exited before they raised a very large Series A, and I had to exit because I was part of a professional services firm, so about conflicts of interest, so I couldn't be part of the project anymore. But the project is still going, and it's a really interesting going to the idea of your workforce and what they're thinking, and particularly around diversity, equity, and inclusion. What it is in very simple layman's terms is it's a bot that sits on the kind of internal communications tool. So it sits on your Slack, your Microsoft Teams chats, and it will monitor. It sounds really creepy, but there's ethical boundaries and all of that we all know about. So within ethical boundaries, it monitors like all of your chat and the ways in which you use language. So say in this room there's very few women, and it will pick up on how you speak to each other, how whether there's if there's a senior speaking to junior, how does that interaction differ with a woman versus a man who's a junior, and it will give you like a net promoter score. It will give you your inclusion score to say, hey, actually there's a culture problem here that you're not aware of, even if you have a value set and you have training. How does it actually come down into how your employees interact with each other? So there's lots of interesting ways that you can build engagement, but also diversity and inclusion and how you govern, because there's massive amounts of data out there in the world. And I think we've talked a little bit about how we address customers and provide that customer service, but on the other side, there's a lot of tools that are available to us. Us as individuals, I'm sure all of you are familiar with the OpenAI stuff. There's a lot that's at our fingertips now, which means that as consumers, we are really selective about what we're going for. So if we have data available as accountants or as employers or as businesses, the same tools are available for our consumers. So we have to know how to make sure that we're meeting what their expectations are as well.
I think we can go with one more question. Yeah.
Hello, yes. My question is regarding the privacy side of it. So when it comes to European citizen data, when you're storing a lot of European data, we are all aware about GDPR, but I'm not sure how well it's adopted in the Maldives. Are the resorts hospitality sector in the Maldives adopting GDPR, or are they doing GDPR readiness assessments? Are they complying with? You talked about sharing a lot of data with third parties. So what are the controls you're taking, to make sure that you're also compliant in terms of consent? Do you take consent from the guests when you're sharing this kind of data? Because I think these are luxury customers who would really, in certain circumstances, not want their data to be shared by third parties. So what are the controls being implemented?
Currently, as you said, GDPR is the only internationally applicable control mechanism for the European guest data. For us, it's challenging, definitely it's challenging, and for us, we have a lot of, make sure the guests double opt in to a lot of, for any of our campaigns. So, just because we have the email address of the guest, we make sure the guest double opt-in to give their consent on this being used for the market and marketing. And at any point of time, they have the option to unsubscribe to any of our marketing as well. And on top of this, I think the challenge for the whole industry comes in how we use this data, how we manage this data internally. And of course, we can't keep putting a guest data on an Excel sheet, mailing to everybody. I mean, we can't comply with the GDPR regulation. So the challenge for a lot of the industry comes with this knowledge of how we can maintain this data, how we can access control this data, who has access to which information. So there is something that is continuously going on, and I believe this challenge is something that even for us or any hotel that is continuously something that we need to look into, definitely.
So since we have 1 minute left, we'll just close the panel. Thank you to all our panelists for their insightful contributions today. We have had a comprehensive discussion on the future of tourism industry, focusing on ESG, AI, and technology. I think since we are accounting professionals, we will have a question in our mind with these all AI tools, what will happen to our jobs? So I think there is a very good articles on ACCA website as well. In the latest issue of Accounting and Business magazine, there was an article that included the statement, the tech offers content, we humans bring context. So the rationale is actually whether we like it or not, AI and machine learning are here to stay, and we shouldn't feel threatened, rather we should see it as an evolution and utilize the technology to automate our work. Thank you for all your participation and engagement. Let's continue to collaborate towards a sustainable and technology advanced future in the tourism industry. Thank you.
Thank you, panelists, for that interesting discussion. Kindly please wait on stage. To appreciate your contribution to this forum, we would like to bestow upon you tokens of appreciation. I kindly call upon AG and President of the Institute, Mr. Hussein Niazi, to award the tokens. Ms. Nurain, Mr. Malik, Ms. Samahath. Mr. Shafraz. Thank you.